working group here at Inverse. I started back here in November, was previously at the Index Co-op, and had been involved in different crypto projects and investing for about the past 3 years, and come from a tech background, software licensing, BD, a lot of marketing and so forth. And glad to be here with everybody.
Yeah, awesome. I go by Nakamomo. I'm also from Index Co-op. That was my stomping ground. Learned a lot about what they were doing, the whole DeFi space, and so on. I've been working on Inverse Plus here. As project manager for that, and yeah, it's been fantastic to see the engagement here in the community and how we just plowed what's the word plowed through different tokenomics models and yeah, discarded them left and right. Found that we were already standing on pretty good ground, so we just expanded on what we had. I guess I got into Inverse Plus there. Easily happens. But cheers. I'll leave the mic. Um, thanks.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, hi, my name is Naufel. I've been involved with Inverse for quite a while, actually. I was there from the beginning, from the fair drop. I am gradually involving more and more, so we can just follow up with all the development inside the DAO. Actually, I'm coming from a financial accounting background, so I've always been interested in IT. My family are all statisticians and mathematicians, so I've always been keen on engineering and IT systems. I've been working for the financial industry for the past 5 years, let's say. I was working for the European Central Bank, so mostly managing data quality and production. So I was involved in for example, I don't know, gathering microstatistics across the whole euro area to supervise securities holding of public or private institutions. I've been kind of providing analytical support to the management of the risk in the euro area, so we can also analyze where some kind of financial risk can arise on the macroeconomy in some countries and in the whole European Union. Then most recently, I was mostly investigating an investment fund and trying to come up with some of, let's say, modeling so we can estimate better some data. So I was always involved with all the stages of the data, from the acquisition to the modelization and analysis. So I'm quite excited that I will be able to provide that now full time inside Inverse, and I'm really glad to be here right now.
Awesome.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me on the call. And I'll try to do more of a short intro. And if you guys want more information on this call, that's great. Or if you want to hit me up somewhere in the Discord, I'm always welcome to having a conversation like that as well. I go by Steed. I've been a student of investing since I was a little kid. I mean, I remember going to the library with my dad and him going through these big volumes of what were research reports at the time on different funds, right? So I've always been around that. I've been in the investing business in TradFi for going on 13 years, I guess. And as part of that, my focus has been investment management, portfolio management, investment research in a couple of specific roles, risk analysis, and all, incredibly detailed, granular opportunities or roles with risk attribution, modern portfolio theory based, active risk modeling, a lot of different stuff like that. That's all been very formative in getting to DeFi, right, and getting to this new world of DeFi and trying to adapt that risk model, risk framework that we've worked in TradFi for so long here. In addition to that work and that background, I've had pretty extensive experience in marketing, in writing, authoring stuff. I'm also kind of an amateur artist. I don't really tell many people that because it doesn't fit with my day job very well, but I have been an artist my whole life too, so I have this kind of weird combo there. So in DeFi, I also do a little bit of a dabble in some marketing contribution stuff for Yearn. The biggest piece that I've worked on so far in DeFi has been at Squid DAO, which was a mashup startup last fall of Nouns DAO mechanism along with ohm fork mechanics, as well as some urine type governance and investment management. From that Squid DAO experience, despite the fact that that project is now unwinding and it fell victim to ohm mechanics the way many other projects have, we had a surprisingly sophisticated and experienced team of policymakers as well as the investment committee on which I sat, and we were tasked with deploying. We had about 12,500 ETH that we were deploying and deployed into DeFi, mainly in yield farming, vault strategies, and we were starting to get into some venture capital, at least on-chain early stage deals, before voters pulled the plug. So that was a really great experience. So I kind of bring all that to bear to my opportunity here. The other thing I guess I'll mention real quick, Pat, is like many people here, I've had a lot of experience working with nonprofits. So I've been exposed to a lot of governance conversations for nonprofit boards of directors that I've either sat on, consulted with, or more recently that I've managed money for. So kind of bring all that to bear in my governance conversations, many of which you've seen in the past 24 hours questions I've had about current proposals, and I really appreciate the team so far for diligently kind of articulating responses to those. It's been great to work with the team here so far. I'm super excited about what's to come. Little piece on that, and then I'll shut up. I promise. I was hired as kind of to start off a risk analyst, or you could call it head of risk if you want to. I think that title is yet to be determined. And personally, I don't think it's really all that important what the title is. The process, however, is important, and that's clearly defining the risks present in the work that we're doing to expand DOLA across chains and really, experience hyper growth in DOLA deployment. So that involves creating and understanding kind of what the risks are at play with the money market activities that we do, the types of deals that the Treasury Working Group and that the Growth Working Group are bringing to the table, creating a repeatable, disciplined research or due diligence process for that with a heavy risk management component, and then setting that in place so that as we continue to grow, we have that process in place. We know who's responsible for what, and ultimately we reduce the risk of anything slipping through the cracks for all the myriad risks that are out in DeFi that we're trying to either eliminate or manage. So in a nutshell, that's kind of it. I will have a proposal coming soon for a risk group that I will be happy for you guys to poke holes in and rip apart, and kind of enjoy that process. And I think that's sorry, that wasn't a very short intro, Pat, but that's what I got today.
Naka, I think we penalized him about $10 for every minute he went over there, right?
Yeah, well,
I
I
get penalized a
I
lot.
did an overly short one, so I give you my space. No
That's
problem.
awesome, Steve. We're really glad to have you. By the way, Nufel didn't mention this, but Nufel is also our new full-time head of analytics, and there's just a prodigious output of analytics going on around here, which is just awesome.
Nufel and I
for
are going to
paying
do some
thanks.
cool stuff.
Yeah.
Some really cool stuff.
Hey, Carm, how are you? Good. We're going to try to get you the minimum wage soon. Oh boy. Awesome. Anybody else want to introduce themselves? No obligation, but it's always good to hear the voice to go with the avatar.
I've had the same problem
That's
when I record
$10.
Discord. Yeah. But
$10 off for you
anyone,
guys.
oh sorry, but anyone who wants to comment or ask or say something, you feel free to use the stage chat. And if you don't want to use the stage chat is under the info category if you have minimized it.
So Nakamomo, how about if you give us the 7-day report on Inverse Plus?
Oh wow, sounds specific.
What?
Sure.
Whatever.
Don't worry. Let's say, yeah, we've had lots of Twitter engagement. I mentioned that at the beginning of the call, and that's really nice to see. Um, we have seen a clear increase in staking, which is the most predictable result that we were, or I was at least looking for, because, well, if we're not entirely wrong, staking should go up in this case. And it was, let me see where I have the numbers here. Yeah, when we launched it, we had 6,791, just under 6,800. And now we have, um, no, I'm mistaken. I'm looking at the different, rate of change here. Oh, since we started, 6,791 inverse has been staked, but 2,185 has been withdrawn. So I'd say that that shows that there's healthy activity, and there's a lot more that has been staked than not. So I'd say that the most basic parameter has been met in that sense. If you look at the price versus ETH, I'd say we're ranging, but yeah, who knows when it comes to predicting price and what that means. Um, let's see. There has been there's one topic of Inverse Plus that has been left for now, and that is the milestones, how to create a reward system that we're going to call the well, something revenue
Revenue
inter-
sharing rule. Yeah.
at the moment it's revenue sharing rewards, yes, but that's $1 billion of dola in circulation for an average of a month. And even though that's definitely achievable, and I think we'll surpass it perhaps even this year, then we we do I think need some intermittent milestones. Um, these would not be to create this enormous influx of people to the community, but rather to uh, you know further engage and create a meaningful rewards system, so to speak, for actions that we want to foster, that will lead to the culture that we care for. So we need to define what culture we care for, and that and that would give us what kind of actions that we would want to reward using the system, and how we're going to implement this is up for this discussion. My first thought is some sort of NFTs, either artful PFPs or FNFTs of some kind. I think financial NFTs might be well suited for us. The question there is, like, the theme of the revenue sharing rewards is that DOLA coming from our, our the interest from DOLA in circulation, and we shouldn't kind of be taking from there at first. So I'm wondering if we should do this part in INV or DOLA, and I'd like to open like the discussion. I'm wondering if the forum is the right place for this kind of discussion. Maybe we can do a series of polls after conversations on Discord. So what kinds of benefits for users, what kind of culture to foster, and which if we're going to use NFTs, and if so, which type.
I think the poll idea is a great idea. Um, do we have
Yeah,
that
we got to
enabled?
capture people where they are, and people are everywhere. Like, it's really hard to determine if we have, say that we have polls on all our media, on the forum, on Twitter, on Telegram, and Discord. Well, how do we judge which ones are? We just
I
like
don't
count the engagements.
know. Donuts is here. Donuts, is there polling on Telegram? I have no idea. I'm not really on Telegram that much. Mhm.
Yeah, but we will reach other people. Like the method which we choose will determine who we reach and which amount of influence they will have in relation to their inverse holdings. So do we want to reward inverse holders specifically, or are we looking for like is that what we need to create the culture that we want to foster? um, we don't necessarily need to use this as a tool to create a culture. We could just use it as a simple reward system, but I think um, it's a good way of engaging people and creating some depth.
There's
Yeah.
two things I think you're mentioning. One is the rewards sharing, the revenue sharing rewards or other interim rewards. Then there's this matter of polling, which I think is pretty fascinating because we are kind of segmented into different, whatever, communities. So it looks like, according to Donuts and Alpha Nomicom, you can do polls on Telegram. And we also, I think, recently did a poll on Discourse on our forum. So there's 3 or 4 if you include Snapshot. There's a lot of potential ways. And Carm, I think we've sort of, when I came in, I said, what about Snapshot? And I kind of got waved off because it's centralized. And I think we needed something. So we sort of defaulted to this Discourse forum. So we could try Snapshot. I kind of went there once or twice and I kind of got waved off, but maybe it's worth taking another swing at it.
Yeah, but I think there's some clear opposition against using Snapshot for votes that we would today consider to be regular DAO governance votes,
Yeah.
things regarding treasury and smart contracts and all that. But using Snapshot as a polling system, that's very interesting to get, the view of engaged inverse holders or ex-inv holders. Yes, yes, and that's the main difference. We can use other methods to reach people that are engaged with our narrative and our identity, and or maybe they're not using Anchor because it's too pricey for them, but they heard of Dola or whatever, and they're interested. This could be a way to kind of get them to, yeah, have a reason to keep investigating.
Yeah.
But also for a big user, maybe you get some sort of perk that's really interesting. Like I think the Dola circulation will increase from Anchor usage. Maybe it's not as significant as Feds being put in different lending markets, but it would be improved. Like if it was less expensive to use, or if there were access to interesting things that you could do there. Alpha Homora has a system where I'm not sure we can copy that at all, but as an inspiration, they have a system where the more you stake, the higher percentage you can utilize their leverage engine.
Mm.
All right, enough about that. You're really curious to hear about people's thoughts, and I'll post about this in Discord at least.
Yeah, maybe we just follow this up in Discord and figure out the right way to start polling everybody about it. I bet there's a lot of ideas.
Yeah, well, we need to work out the narrative, because I could have written up a proposal about NFTs and not asked anyone, but that's not really what this thing is about. Like, I want it to fit with what people are wanting here, and we kind of need to solidify our idea of what our identity is. So yeah, I think a conversation about this could be it.
Yeah, there's a real fine kind of balance between trying to get everybody to speak up, and on the other end, kind of one individual or one group speaking up, right? So there, in my experience, there are a lot of people with ideas, and sometimes a chat or a channel will be productive, right? And a channel will be known as something where a lot of interesting activities happen. The culture of the thread is good. Other times, it just takes someone to put a straw man out there to type something up, and it might be a proposal, or it might just be, hey, here are all the ideas I got, just to spur to start the conversation up, right? That's something that is different in every community. It's different in every project, but it's something that we can play with. Polling is a tool for that. Maybe using some type of document other than a Google Doc, like a HackMD, that's really easily accessible that people can add stuff to. It's pinning a
Yeah,
visual in the channel, so it'll be interesting to see what works. But I feel like with the people we've got, we can make that happen.
yeah, for sure. Say, yeah, I worked on, what was it? Was it Trello? Anyway, simultaneous. Do everyone could work at the same time on the same doc, and it was a lot of fun actually. Yeah.
So we did this Inverse Plus launch on a fairly, let's just say, accelerated schedule. And I thought it was pretty decent given that, I mean, I think Eric's on from Creator. Hey, Eric. And we got those guys rolling in about 4 days, which is a minor miracle in the world of Marcom. So I'm really glad that those guys are on the team. And so I think we came up with this Fugu AMA that the Creator guys facilitated. I thought the way it's been serialized on Twitter, and actually the content that came out of that was quite good. Noor did a great job. And then we saw some video work from them, which I thought was pretty decent. There was a Twitter thread. And like I said, it was about 4 days worth of work, very quick. And I thought for 4 days, it was pretty decent. It's not ideal, but I'm kind of interested in some thoughts here about the rest of the month. And we've sort of, just to kind of set the tone a little bit, we've sort of settled in on this category of positive sum DeFi. And I'm assuming most of you folks have seen this, but I'll just give you a couple sentences. And out of this whole Inverse Plus planning, brainstorming, et cetera, that started in December, I think this actually came from Noor, that really this is more of a positive sum game because so many governance tokens are effectively zero-sum games where you don't, I mean, other than voting rights, you don't really have any claim on assets, you don't have any dividend rights, et cetera. It's basically just a hope that the price of the governance token is going to increase. And I think some people refer to these as quote unquote useless governance tokens. And you can, I think, make a pretty good argument that these are basically zero-sum games because eventually someone's going to lose if the price starts dropping. And the idea is just to get out while you can take a profit, and it's not necessarily designed to be held for any period of time. There are negative sum games, of course, like wars, for example, where both sides lose. But positive sum games in DeFi, there are not that many of them, and it's really sort of a brand new-ish kind of category as far as I'm concerned. And I think we're going to make a move to kind of own that in DeFi. So positive sum DeFi or play positive sum games, this is something we've been playing with a little bit with some of that launch content that came out. And I'm curious what people think and whether we should continue this beyond that, whether we can continue to kind of flesh out this concept of positive sum DeFi and different ways we can do it. Carm is on here. Carm is raising his hand to get more involved in leading some of our social media activity. And I think just generally, Donuts has been doing a great job, especially on Telegram, where again, I don't lurk very much, but there's a whole nother group of folks out there. So we're trying to kind of build out some of this, what I would call hand-to-hand combat kind of marketing capability. And my recommendation is, at least for the rest of this month, we continue to hammer this positive sum DeFi theme. I don't know if anybody else has a opinion or a thought on that. Try to answer some text here. Oh, Eric's got to go, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, of course, positive sum. I think it's very strong. It's a concept that already exists in an analytic scenario or capacity, and it kind of fits. I mean, if you look at Ethereum as a whole, it has both inputs and outputs and MEV on top, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then there's us and the rest of us inside that, the actual users, as I would think of them. And we don't have a pool two, or rather, we are moving away from the whole pool two system, the whole mercenary liquidity system, which is created by the emissions. Show me the incentives and I'll show you the outcome, that kind of way.
Right.
So as long as we have several interconnected or linked DeFi Legos, so to speak, that I don't have a language for this, but communicate economically with each other and the rest of the world, so they keep spinning some value in a ring, so to speak. I think that's an easy image for how DeFi can work, rather than just extract the users. I was hoping for a designer to pick up on this and make a really nice image.
Yeah. Well, if we need that, we should put the call out. We have a couple of new designers. We have Yusuf, he's on this call. And I've seen a couple of others sort of poking their head in recently, which is great. We've got all sorts of design work to be done. Yeah, we can get more visual imagery around positive sum DeFi. I don't think it's going to hurt. And in my experience, it takes some effort to establish a category in any industry, technology industry, for example. It takes some education, takes some awareness raising. We're not super, well funded, I guess. So we're not spending much money, or we don't have a lot of people sort of banging this drum right now. It's something that we ought to be kind of working towards. But it's pretty noisy out there. I mean, we're doing something that is unique. We do have a stable. There's other stables out there. There's other money markets out there, and obviously there's other governance tokens. So we're kind of wrapping this all together in a novel way. And I think that whether it's, I don't know, white papers or more videos or Twitter threads, those are all useful sort of pieces of data or pieces of content that we can create that help the users understand this. And hopefully when it comes to whether it's analysts or other people writing about the space, Inverse can occupy this sort of unique lane compared to others who are doing, whether it's algorithmic stable coins or what have you.
Are we doing impression mining? Oh, sorry.
No. Go ahead.
Yeah, are we doing impression mining right now, Pat?
Yes, we are. So we do have, for January, we had several folks that kind of submitted timesheets. They had done work on Twitter, and we need to build it out more. I'm kind of crossing my fingers that Carm is going to be some kind of a leader in that. But yeah, we really do need to up our own Twitter game, but also in recruiting others to get out there and spread the word on whatever social media. Twitter's one. I think we've got lots of other options. And the way I've seen it work pretty successfully in the past is once a month, someone basically sends a list of the links, and we're able to kind of see what kind of reach that person had. And then they are compensated based on the reach. It's probably not, just given our bandwidth right now, we're still kind of early. It's not that sophisticated the way we're compensating. So it's probably more on the generous side, I would say. But that's the kind of place we need to get to, where we have lots of folks that are submitting, here's what I did this month, and uh, we have a system for processing all that.
Two questions. At the other groups that I've worked for, Twitter is 90% of marketing, right? At least for our DGens out there, right? And those aren't all of our users or stakeholders by any means, but one of the big learning pieces for me was that what I thought of marketing, hiring an agency, doing a campaign of all these different things that some were paid, that stuff isn't well trusted by the DeFi community, especially the DGen community. And
Mhm.
people just expect and live and breathe on Twitter. So I hosted a Twitter Spaces at Squid, and it was a pain in the butt. It took time to set up and it took time to pre-market it, but that one thing that we did every week or almost every week it was a steroid booster shot in the arm for the people in the Discord, for Twitter activity. And I kid you not, there were several times when we saw a price spike, where people had been on the call and somebody decided to do a 40 ETH buy or something afterward, and it was like this is crazy. This shouldn't work like this. But it did. So I all that to say, what has been y'all's experience using Twitter Spaces? You do those periodically because they're a huge opportunity.
To my knowledge, we have not done a single one, but it's sort of on my list, and we should definitely be doing one.
Yeah, I
It-
think your description there really fits. Oh, hey, Nibs. But that it's a drag for everyone involved, but it just slams in marketing terms. Technically, it's really janky. It's people, especially if you have an Android phone, it's very common that the audio cuts when the screensaver hits and all kinds of stuff.
Mm.
If you're too many people, they get the whole thing collapses. But you're absolutely right. It's the way to go for the the degen crowd and others on Twitter. But also, just like you said, 90% usually goes to Twitter, or usually often goes to Twitter. I've seen the same thing in other DAOs, and I think it's useful, but not 90%, right? It's we should find out where we should target find out or who our audience is and target them better, in a sense. But
If
yes, let's do Twitter Spaces.
if you
Sorry.
guys if you guys ever want to do that, if somebody else can just set the thing up, or I'll do the first few. I've done so many times now. It's super easy to record too. Twitter's got a great feature to record it automatically. You post the same link that you use to advertise the spaces. Use the same link in your Discord to say, "Here's the recording." Recording goes to the same place, right? Um, so if
That'd be
anybody's
great.
interested in doing that, I'd be happy to. You know me, I talk for 2 hours about anything. So
Yeah, well,
um,
that's great, man. Please do it.
You, Carm, I think he's trying to muscle in on your audio engineer job.
no. I'm not doing that. I'm trying to recruit Carm to the risk team. So I'm trying to give him some goodwill on this side.
That'd be great. I also would like to see, Carm, I'm not forcing you to do this, but it would be great if somebody like you could help us be kind of the content traffic cop. So I think if we kind of went around to, for example, Noor or me or Steed or Nakamomo, I don't know, everybody basically, I think there are a lot of interesting concepts for content. Could be written, could be video, could be whatever, Twitter threads, etc. And I think there kind of needs to be some kind of a traffic cop and maybe a vetting process and maybe just someone who can say, hey, this piece on, or for example, Naka, weren't we talking about a video of somebody buying Inverse and staking it and borrowing? So
Yeah, classic how-to.
yeah, so I don't know kind of where the repository of all these different content projects resides, but it sort of needs to happen.
Oh, we need a DAM, a digital asset manager,
Fine.
that can host it as well.
Right, right.
Anything. I mean, anything like that can work, and something is better than nothing. Nothing will be perfect. Uh, I mean, I'll tell you one other thing that I can pass along to you guys. So I'm also in this. I'm going to be rolling off this soon because I don't have the bandwidth for it anymore. But I'm a marketing council lead at Y Axis Project, and my main role for them has been to create this like marketing Magna Carta type document of like everything I learned at Squid DAO and Yearn and how they need to implement, right? So I'd be happy to just like modify that for us and give it to y'all, and your group can do whatever you want with it. But in that thing, I talk a lot about Twitter and how we manage stuff and what didn't work, and so if that's something useful for you guys, I'm happy to give it to y'all too.
Sure.
I'll
Absolutely.
be glad when that project's over.
Come on, just move on. Yeah.
Are there any other any other big video animation? I mean, one thing I would love to see us do sometime soon is a DOLA animation. How does DOLA work? How does the Fed work, etc. If anybody is dying, Harry's done a lot of good work on docs for that. Maybe taking some of those docs and abstracting it into some kind of an animation script, or at least a brief. Anyway, that's one idea.
Yeah, that I really think we need that too. But this is, well, the key to this is really to laying out our definition and narrative of the positive sum game of inverse. So once we feel that we're completely clear on that, I think that would be like easy to get out.
So
So do
some kind of product around positive sum, so, just something dedicated to that, you think?
well, as you said, first we have the video for that is just a how-to, hopefully not boring, and then in addition to that, I think, if I'm not sure everyone has the same YouTube tunnel as me, but Caesar is a pretty good what do you call it, flowchart guy. um, I think he explains DeFi protocols fairly well. But he uses flowcharts, and I think that style is very good. Same thing as with Finematics is another YouTuber who does this whiteboard style
Yeah.
animation, and that's also just really good because people think differently, and not everyone is susceptible to text or audio. Some people need to see it in shapes
Right.
to really get it, and or get it easily. And that's me too, to be honest. And I've been writing something about benefits of Dolab, all that benefits of Inv. I want to make it clear for myself entirely how to present the relationships. Um, but yeah, in the end, it's just going to be a couple of arrows and a bank symbol saying "scream" in one part of that. So, but yeah,
Well,
I'd love to work with anyone on this, of course. Yeah.
that's great. Eric had to leave, but I thought Caesar was going to do another video that was more about Inverse Plus. The first one he did, I think he just kind of winged it before we launched or before he really had the full briefing.
Yeah.
But do you know anything about that?
All I know is a comment from like a week ago saying that there would be another video, but that wasn't from him personally, and we'll see. I hope
Okay.
so.
Him and I talk most days, so I can drip on him
Oh,
and
good.
Oh,
try
that's
to
nice.
move him down the road on that.
Well, inform him first.
Figure out something we can figure out something else we can do for him. He's great, super guy though.
Yeah, figured. So those are the two video projects that I see that are like most pertinent. But of course, another flashy, wow, this is us. This is what we do. I mean, can we get enough of those? We have one now.
I think they're super useful in terms of just content for people to talk about and to share. I think it's very high value content personally. I know Noor's
You know that
tweets get a lot of pickup, but for Inverse Finance's Twitter account, for example, or for my Twitter account, I think this multimedia content is way more impactful.
Yeah, I can tell anyone who's interested in their follower number that posting these threads makes it go up.
Uh-huh.
And
so sorry
that's
if you
not hard to understand. I usually don't read things that aren't threads unless they're usually just too short and uh, yeah, not saying much anyway. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say sorry if you probably already said this earlier, but who would be considered like the content manager, like the person who is the hub of everybody that can develop content on one side and then can deploy content, on the other side.
So on the develop content side, I'm talking to Carm right now. I would say I'm probably stepping forward a little bit early, Carm, here, but we're trying to sort out something, maybe around social media, but maybe it's broader. So TBD, but there is kind of a gap there, and there's different ways of potentially filling it. But the short answer is we might be working on it, and maybe in a week we'll have better clarity. On the more sort of deployment of content side, I think it's the other side of that same coin is we don't really have a single traffic cop that is dishing this stuff out and coordinating it. And got a couple ideas. I'm talking to a Karen who's been doing a lot of time at Concave, but I think we're going to get him back over here more. And that's another possibility of someone who might be able to fill some of that role.
Is there you guys have a Twitter list? I mean, when you go on the Inverse Twitter account, is there a Inverse Twitter list right there of all the people who are the most active on Twitter that are Inverse holders, Inverse proponents?
As far as I know, we don't. These are such
That's
obvious questions that we should have answers to, and as far as I know, we don't have answers, but it's
no,
something
no.
we.
It's this stuff's hard to figure out because I think the decentralized nature makes it tougher because oftentimes there's not a natural coordinator. So you got to make one, right? But something that can work too is you got to figure out who those most active Twitter people are, and even push the community to do so. Because if you borrow from Anchor or you own Inv, it's in your best interest to do a little bit of marketing. Some people contribute, and get paid for it, but a lot of groups have this little, call it army, if you will, of 10, 20, 30, 40 people who are super active on Twitter. And when you've got content that you need to tweet right then, you send it to their thread and say, "You guys got to get this out now." You know. Anyway.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree, and I think Norris in the audience, he's a major tweeter. Uh, I haven't really mastered the whole tweetery thing yet, but yeah, sure. Include ats and dollar signs for all the things that you can do, and include some ats for notable people in the space that you have connection to that are not going to get pissed off.
Yeah,
That's really nice.
Nor's the perfect model. Like his Twitter is consistent and it's high quality, and it's not. I haven't seen these shit posting. There may be some, and that's okay too. But for the most part, you need a group of people who are going to retweet, like, comment, and push that stuff, to amplify that voice. But we'll get there. All right, guys, I got to jump. This has been great. Sorry for talking so
I was
much.
just about to talk about you.
No, that's fine. You can please talk about me after I'm done, after I'm gone. That's better, right?
I was going to talk about the risk management that we did for Badger, but I guess we can do that next time.
Okay. Well, yeah, we'll go ahead. I can stick around for.
But real quick, I just want to say this was a really good week from the perspective of, in the past, it's been sort of Nor and myself kind of doing due diligence on new lending deals, partner deals, and we really, I would say, just did a basic job of creating a due diligence process. And I think this week we really kind of moved the ball way forward. And I think Steed kind of got us together to say, let's develop some pretty templatized criteria for how we roll this stuff out. And I thought it worked pretty well. Harry and Nebs both were pretty active, and we got to an agreement yesterday that the Badger Fuse Pool 22 is good, and it's up there as a draft proposal on Governor Mills. And the great thing, I think, from my perspective, is we've not been moving as quickly on some of these lending protocols as we'd like. And part of it is just the pace at which we're able to kind of do our homework. And so now I think we're going to be able to move much more quickly, and the internal process for getting comfortable with these things is going to basically, we're just going to be able to move much more quickly. So just want to mention that. And it ties back into, this marketing conversation as well, since all of these deals have a marketing component. So for example, we just re-upped or refilled the Olympus Pro bonds last week. Olympus has quite a few marketing people, and there was a great opportunity probably to do more with Olympus, and we just don't have the bandwidth right now, or maybe we didn't have the time for almost all of these things that we're working on the partnership side. There's sort of a mirror marketing opportunity to exploit their capabilities, but just jointly, most of them also want to get together with us. So a pretty successful model was what we did with Floki back in December. And there was a great Telegram chat, there were Medium posts, there was Twitter posting, and the Floki people came over in pretty big numbers to Inverse. And I thought, with minimal resources on our part, I thought it was well done. And I'm really looking forward to us kind of doing a better job of taking advantage of all the awareness we can raise every time we do one of these, whether it's a fuse pool or if it's a new lending protocol someplace else. It's full of marketing potential for us.
Sure, and I'll add to the diligence piece. I'm vocal about everything, right? I've made a lot of observations, stuff. The good news is, there's nothing broken, right? Inverse has got incredible opportunity. It's been built in a way it survived in this environment for over a year, which is a testament in itself, right? So it's a pleasure for me to be able to come on and meet and work with and ultimately, more importantly, learn from people who are very, very talented, very intelligent, very passionate about building this, right? Building whatever your area of expertise or passion is, just building it out, right? So for the diligence process, the work has already been being done. You guys have already put in place the types of reviews and conversations that need to happen. So for me, it's not terribly difficult. It's really just putting that into a more repeatable process. The other good news is that Pat, Harry, Nebs, Noor, the rest of the other people on the team are bringing good opportunities, and teams and individuals in DeFi want to do deals. They want to do deals with Inverse. They're going to want to do more deals with Inverse, and those deals are going to be even bigger as we go and as we grow the project, right? So having that risk management diligence process in place on the front end, then having the tools, the instant flow of information, instant ability to access information on the monitoring side, on the ongoing side, right? Before a deal gets done, and then after a deal gets done, and we're in it, we're invested in it. That type of thing is what we'll build out. Under guise of pending risk team, and build out of that process. So overall, I think it's I feel like it's a really positive opportunity for us. We're going to go really far with this and build on great success of Inverse already.
Awesome. Well, Steve, great to have you here for that and other
Thank
things.
you. Thank you very much, and I'll talk to you guys soon.
All right.
All right.
I think that's all I had on my list. Somebody want to put a new topic on the table? Nebs?
Hey, yeah, I I got in real late, so apologies. Had stuff going on, but it sounds like y'all are having a pretty productive conversation on marketing. Actually, still working on my thread. Um, actually, I think I'm gonna have to revise some of it because it looks like CoinGecko did make some corrections, although we haven't gotten the curve pool added there. I don't think they support that yet, but it looks like they did add the Uniswap markets for Dola. So that's something.
So for context, the dollar peg looks odd on CoinGecko because they're not looking at the most liquid place at the moment. But so they made some improvements.
Yes, yes. So yeah, to get a little backstory, one of the issues, I guess, from a marketing perspective that we've had, I feel like, and it may affect, not just people looking at Dola to, potentially use it, but potentially partners is first place a lot of people goes, is CoinGecko to check out, hey, what is Dola? And the chart that's on there is unfortunately not representative of really what the peg is. I mean, and it's main reason is originally they were only pulling from the Dola WE pool, as well as the Uniswap, and then the Sushi Inv Dola, right? um and those are pretty thin when it comes to volume, but also neither of those are paired to other stables. So it just looks really, really choppy, when in reality, from what I've seen, like the curve, our curve peg is pretty solid, and is we recently added the Dola peg bots on the sidebar, which those are tracking the peg relative to the curve pools on both uh, ETH and Phantom. So um, it also factors in the fees. So what's shown there isn't the exchange rate you're getting on Curve. It's basically working backwards to get you what the actual rate would be without the fee, right? As a better reflection of peg. But anyway, so that's what I'm getting at is, one of our big issues is just is trying to get better, charts and representation on CoinGecko. So that has been a challenge for sure.
So these CEX listings look like, are they weighting anything according to the CEX listing? I guess that's for inverse, not for DOLA. I'm looking at this one.
Yeah, for inverse, yes, but for actual DOLA pairings, I mean, it's just there's not
Yeah.
much on CoinGecko. Um, so I
Did
mean that
anyone find out about this ZB CEX?
I don't know. It looks really sketch to me, like, to be honest. My firewall actually blocks their that domain. I've got a Pi-hole, and I guess it thinks it's malware for some reason. So I
All right.
don't know. It shows like a ton of volume, but then the spread is like zero or something or depth is zero rather. I don't really know. I've never heard of that exchange.
I don't think we've really tried to go, Carm and Donuts, you guys correct me, but have we really tried yet to go out to these guys to get DOLA listed on the CEXs? As far as I know, we really haven't. I wouldn't- Yeah. Yeah, we still have some conversations happening with some of the bigger CEXs for inverse. And anyway, Nebs, if you think that's helpful at all, we could try to make a push to get DOLA listed on those.
I don't think that's I don't think there's any um harm because like CoinGecko they they actually have a pretty good system of like detecting unusual like volumes and that sort of thing. So I don't think it's affecting the price as far as I can tell. Um but uh just something to keep an eye on really. Like um if their order books are thin. I imagine their order books are thin on there because let me look at here. ZB, yeah, it says 3 million volume, but like the depth is zero. But the spread is almost 10%. So I don't, it doesn't, it, it just, I'm not trying to throw
Yeah,
shade, but it
yeah,
just doesn't make sense.
yeah.
Yeah, but see, like they've already marked it the trust score like E, on CoinGecko. Like I don't know. But yeah, back to the DOLA thing. It's an interesting question. Whether that's something should pursue now, or is that something we can maybe approach when we're a lot more liquid. I don't really know. I think that's something we haven't spent a lot of time, or at least I haven't. Maybe Nor and uh, Harry have thought about it a little more. Is what are the steps to where do we have to be before DOLA listing makes sense. I think there's a lot of factors there. I mean, liquidity being probably the
Yeah.
biggest one. But I'm for it long term.
So we've got this Notion board for the growth working group and some of this stuff. If you need help, Nebs, on whatever, any of these PEG issues, if there's somebody that's got a listing and it needs to be dealt with, there's actually a few folks that have done work like that, reaching out. So we've got possibly some resources to help.
Okay, yeah, but that'd be great. I think the biggest thing is just convincing them. So convincing them to add the Curve Factory uh, support for Curve Factory and CoinGecko. That would go a long way. And it does bring up the question about should we move to an actual like curve pool that's not permissionless or not. That's something we maybe should talk about. I don't think there's been heavy discussion on it, but anyways, yeah.
Okay. Well, we're at about the top of the hour. We should probably wrap it up unless someone has something really pressing. Which, if they don't, we can always pick something up next week. But there's a ton going on. And Carm, we can definitely follow up in donuts on some of this social media conversation we've been having. I thought what Steve was mentioning about Twitter Spaces is a pretty cool idea. All right, cool. Well, thank you, everyone. Great
Thank
call.
you.
Very interesting. Thanks for coming, and I hope you have a great weekend.
See you all
Same
around.
to you. Ciao, ciao.
Thank you.
Ciao.